Okay, I am David G. Brown. The G stands for Guerin and is named after my great-grandfather, who was Augustus Irenaeus Guerin, better known as Rennie in his day. He joined Battery H, 1st Ohio Light Artillery, Union Battery, and at the start of the war. He and his brother went off. They were trained at Camp Dennison and then went off to fight various battles. My great-grandfather was wounded at what's called the Battle Before Petersburg, which was, by comparison to Petersburg, a skirmish. He was getting coffee one morning. He stood up, and as he did, a bullet went through his right leg and into his left. Because he was the first one wounded that day, he was treated with cleaned up instruments and so forth. He did not get an infection. He was too badly wounded to go back to his company, too lightly wounded to go to the hospital. So they sent him home, where mother's clean sheets and home cooking got him to rights. His brother then went on to fight at Fort Sedgwick, known as Fort Hell by the men, at Petersburg. And the two were reunited when the battery was discharged out of Cleveland. They fought at places like in Chancellorsville. They were trapped on the battlefield for the whole night that Jackson, General Stonewall Jackson, was shot. He would have been within earshot of the bullets that took down Jackson. Of course, he wouldn't have known it, but he would have, The next day, they escaped by firing a rotten shot. They had the Army's 3-inch ordnance rifle, 9-pounder. They didn't have anything to shoot at the Confederates but that. So they took the fuses out of the shells, the Schenkel shells, and fired them, and they would explode in the barrel, and that would send red-hot, flaming metal toward the Confederates, who didn't take very kindly to that. But my great-grandfather, his entire battery escaped, but they left 3 guns behind. He fought at Gettysburg from the hill, what is now the Cemetery Hill. He was there the 2nd and 3rd day. About 3 years ago, I guess it was now, I took a trip to all of his battlefields. The one that was the men were most proud of was they were the first Union, first Union artillery, but the first Union company on the field at Cold Harbor. And they were followed by General Grant. My great-grandfather paid for a huge painting. I mean, about 6 foot by maybe 5 foot. And it shows him right in the center. There he is pointing, and General Grant off to one side. I can stand there and tell you, when you go to some place like that today, you stand where the artist would have stood to get his sketches. You're on the front lawn of a private home. And where the battery was firing is a gas station. So times change, but when you get a chance to see it, I encourage people to just go where your relatives were. If your relatives came over in a boat and they sailed up the New York Barge Canal, go there, whatever, see it, feel it, taste it. It's a wholly different experience.